Okay, folks, this is kind of part two of some thoughts I have tonight here. By the way, I'm visiting my parents here, so my parents' house. Um, so where was I? Oh yeah. So the fear is if you have too many nuts that you'll get chubby. You'll gain weight. Well, um, they are calorie dense, but nuts really don't have a lot of carbs. So I mean, uh, I don't think you're gonna get chubby eating nuts. It's not really gonna happen. I can't really see it happening. I think it's a fallacy. I think it's a, there's a lot of fiber in nuts. If you have a whole bunch of nuts, for instance, if I eat more nuts than I usually eat, I might gain some weight, but it probably won't be very much. And my body's gonna be like, yeah, it's gonna feel awesome, you know. But I think your body's gonna let you know if you've been had too many nuts anyway. I probably couldn't stomach much more than I'm eating right now. I mean, there's a lot of calories in that stuff. I mean, it kind of depends on the type of nut you're eating. If I eat a whole bunch of walnuts, I mean, my mouth is gonna start getting dry or something. you know, it'll be quite healthy. All those omega 3 fatty acids, man. So walnut pecan thing. If I had too many peanuts, that's where if they're salted, Um, it's really easy to overdo peanuts, but it's not unhealthy. Anyway, it's fine. I think peanut butter though that can get a little bit yeah. But cashews and pistachios, everyone talks about the carbs in cashews, and I don't eat macadamias myself, but I know it's a little different. Every nut has a little bit different nutrition profile. And hazelnuts are almost have a fruit-like taste to them. Nuts in general are not going to make someone fat unless you're talking about nut butters, and even nut butters are much better than they're they're not the stuff that makes someone chubby. The stuff that makes someone chubby really is stuff like fruit juice and donuts and stuff. All those carbs. But I think you guys know that already, or you should. So nuts, vegetables, you can't really overdo them because the fiber, and they don't have all that many carbs. A lot of times. I'm not talking about corn and potatoes, folks. Okay. Fruit. I used to kind of overdo it, at least with oranges. I don't really do that anymore. So I know what it's like to overdo the fruit, at least with oranges. You probably won't overdo berries. Berries are kind of like veggies. They just happen to taste a little better, but they're not all that much more sugary. They're about the same. I mean, carrots are right between raspberries and blueberries in terms of how much sugar it has. So, I mean, all three of those foods are great to have. All low sugar, lower. They have plenty of fiber, plenty of bioflavonoids. Can't go wrong. Um, avocado, something else that people think about if they eat too much of it might make it fat. No. Even if avocado has carbs, there's plenty of fiber. Avocado's not going to make you chubby. It's going to fill you up. I mean, like if you overeat, okay. But if it's the less that something is just pure, straight up, simple carbs or sugar, the more it's like fats and proteins. It's probably no. It's not going to have a huge impact on your weight in a negative way or your chubbiness. Um, and beans are Well, what happens if you have too many beans? Well, obviously, tons of fiber. You're gonna be going going potty for a while. So it's just these plant foods. I mean, fruits, you just tropical fruits and citrus. You just gotta be a little bit careful of, at least the sweet stuff. And grains, yeah, you need to be careful of grains as well. But all this type of thing, it's just, um, I don't know, like what's the train of thought I had here? Oh yeah, okay. Well, so as Americans, we probably still eat a little too much meat, poultry, fish. Well, meat and poultry, and yeah, yeah. Okay, let me rephrase that. We probably eat too much dairy and also meat and poultry, and probably eggs a little bit. But it's just when as I mentioned before, it's great to try to get all the stuff that your body needs, and your body needs all these different kinds of things, and you know, so you can get really complicated with all this stuff, but um, but the question is it's more of a question of quantity. How much do we really need of these different things? So I know what would happen if I ate more vegetables or less. I know what would happen if I ate more fruit or less, different kinds of fruit. I know what would happen if I ate more uh, different kinds of vegetables like mushrooms or onions or less. Also seeds, nuts, grains. I know what would happen. I know personally what would happen if I had more or less of those foods. What do you think would happen if you had more dairy than usual? I can guarantee you it would not be healthy. I can guarantee you that. You might, if you're weightlifting, you'll definitely get a little stronger. Dairy has complete proteins. You can use that as fuel for your muscles, but you're not going to smell very good, right? And it's a good chance if you're in your teens, you get acne a bit more. Just dairy contributes to stinkiness a little bit more. And, if you get conventional dairy, it's going to be worse. There's hormones and that stuff. It's just, you know, it's heavy food, at least cheese especially. It's gonna weigh you down, slow you down. You notice with animal foods, it's kind of a similar deal. However, meats and poultry, fish, egg, that stuff. Well, how can I say this? I'm not the biggest opponent of dairy, but it's just that well, it has to do with the quality of what we're consuming. And cows that we're drinking and we're consuming stuff that cows meant for the calves, right? We're not baby calves, we're humans. So why are we eating cow or drinking cow's milk? But then the question is why we have sheep's milk or sheep's cheese, right? Or goat cheese, whatever. Um, they're still real cheese, they're still real foods. It's not like unusual, nothing wrong with it. Some people ask why you're eating mushrooms, but it's what okay. What happens again when you have too much dairy is, and if you're not working out, you're not using it for muscle. Even if you are using it for muscle, dairy, you have to be careful if it's not grass fed, right? Dairy is one of those things that can contribute to, especially conventional dairy, health issues down the road. I'm talking about cheese and, well, it's more like a conventional cheese thing. Someone says, "Oh, dairy is not a big deal. It's all the carbs or it's all the refined sugars and stuff." Yep, they have a point. But the question is a question of how much. Um, it's the same deal with beef and chicken and fish and eggs. It's just, again, with the meat and the poultry and all that stuff. Well, eggs especially are great for muscles, but it's just that there's something very gummy, kind of gums up your system about cheese, especially. And I can't really fully explain it here, but my body doesn't handle cheese very well. It doesn't have to do with the lactose or whatever. It's not a lactose issue. It's a casein issue. It's a protein in dairy. And dairy is just some kind of funky stuff. I mean, at least especially the cheese. It it has an opiate-like effect on me. It makes me feel silly, lightheaded in large amounts. And gluten in wheats and all that stuff is very similar. And it's interesting, you hear Dr. Glidden. We don't know about him very well. We know about Dr. Berg. Dr. Berg he's all about the vegetables. He's all about the, low carb nuts and all this keto stuff and the meat, the poultry, fish, and the egg, vegetables, and even dairy. Right? Those expensive cheeses from Europe. That's the kind of stuff that he advocates, and a little bit of berries. And then Dr. Hyman's kind of somewhere in the middle ground with watch the fruit and meat, no dairy. You know, Dr. Furman's all about his plant foods. But it really does come down to a question of quantity. How much do we really need of this stuff? And it's a question of what's affecting our bodies. If you have a lot of dairy, especially if it's really full fat cheeses, there's a good chance that you're going to feel sluggish. Uh, yeah, it's not food that's meant for exercise. You're not going to eat a whole bunch of cheese and then go exercise. That's ridiculous. You get cramps. Milk is kind of the same deal. Now, of course, you wouldn't want to eat a whole bunch of beef and do the same thing. Beef is also very heavy, just like cheese. Chicken is a little better. Fish and eggs are even better. It kind of depends on how long you need to wait. A little bit, you know, is the digestion time, then the exercise time. Yeah. But what happens if you have too much eggs? Well, you stink a little bit more, sure, but it's not quite as bad as dairy, but it's probably not a good idea, right? If you have too much fish, well, people say, oh, watch for mercury, but fish is probably safer if you keep it at low in mercury. Um, Asians have a lot of fish, at least the Japanese. They're doing fine, right? What happens if you eat too much chicken? Well, chicken it's okay, right? You can kind of get away with it. Just make sure it's not fried chicken, right? What happens if you eat too much meat? Well, that's where you start getting into meat. It's because it's heavier food, folks. It's just heavier. And when I say heavier, it takes longer for the body to digest it. Even grass-fed beef and lamb, it's more complex organism. Um, it ages your body. Meat ages your body because it takes more effort for the body to digest everything. It's so easy for your body to digest. What, like strawberries? It's nothing, right? Your body there's no expenditure of energy digesting or green beans, right? It's nothing. But a steak or like a roast, your body's gonna be working on that for a while. No, it's gonna do outstanding things for your muscles, right? In your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, and your all that stuff. Yeah, getting that beef roast. Oh yeah, getting that choline, getting that tryptophans. I really do think that's important to get that stuff in there, but it's a question of how much. It's always a question of how much. Even though meat and dairy, I'm talking about anyway. Well, so anyway, I think you guys are seeing what I'm saying here. And there is still a kind of a pecking order, with this whole thing, but it's just it's not really super particular right yet. But we can probably safely say vegetables should be number one. Vegetables are the first place. And then after that, you could probably have a toss up between, um, I don't know, nuts, beans, and fruit. And those grains are going to have to take a back seat to those other kinds of plant foods. And even grains will take a back seat to uh, animal protein, more on the meat, poultry, fish, egg side. Dairy should be even less than grains, in my opinion. Well, less than sweet fruits. Butter, grass-fed butter probably is a good idea. But you're not going to have very much of it anyway. Yogurt's probably okay. But milk is, and cheese is probably the worst. But again, a little cottage cheese is fine. It's fine. And I'll like K2 from, I don't know. I suppose cheese is fine, but it's again a question of how much, right? Yeah, of course, of course. Anyway, I'm gonna get to some other subjects here just for a bit, but so again, I'm trying to make a variety thing tomorrow. I'm not sure when, but this has been pretty eventful last week or two that I've been kind of not doing as much with YouTube. And again, it's at my place. I have this slow internet server that the landlord pays for. I don't pay for it, but it's very slow, and it just takes sometimes forever to upload anything unless I get my own system, which I could have in the future, or get something on my computer, and I got some stuff in the works there, but anyway, anything else to mention here before I sign off? Well, I'm definitely watching all the YouTube news. I definitely know all the big things that are going on. And yeah, I guess that's the best way of putting it. So if there's some current event that you think I'm not covering very much, I'm not talking about, rest assured, I definitely know about it. Yeah. Oh yeah. In fact, it's interesting. I've known people that say, just gotta follow the news, gotta watch the news, be very aware of that stuff. I know other people that say, don't even pay attention to that stuff. I tend to fall somewhere in the middle, because if I don't pay attention to this stuff, especially all the negative stuff, it can boost my mood. It can be a good thing. If I pay too much attention to all the newsy stuff, I feel like I'm a bit more aware of what's happening, but then I might also feel a bit more depressed. So there you go. It's just one of those things. I think it just is like, I don't think it's really vital to know every little thing that's happening that's negative in the world. But it certainly isn't. I don't know. It's a tough one. I think it comes down to the individual, and how each individual can kind of, how it affects people, how it affects us. I just feel like, and I keep hearing endless crap about China's, of course, the CCP, right? It just never ends. And it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say no to political things I agree with. I mean, in terms of like, I want the CCP party to go bye-bye, right? I'm conservative and all this stuff, and I'm listening to Tea Party stuff, and I'm whatever, all this stuff. But it's like, it doesn't always, not something that really builds my spirits up. And I think I need things in life that will help me be happier. And that's the name of the game. Anyway, you guys take it easy. Catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.